Cable Installation and Maintenance Magazine has a competitive program every year to test the latest products, projects, and innovations. And one of the manufacturers came away with not one, not two, but three awards. We're going to have a conversation with them.
Don't hang up that phone. We've found what you're looking for. Welcome to the Let's Talk Cabling podcast with Chuck Bowser, RCDD. What exactly does RCDD stand for? Registered Communications Distribution Designer. Just the expert you need to ensure your cable plant performs exactly as designed. Now, send the new guy to the truck for a bucket of dial tone and the cable stretchers, while you listen to an informative program on telecommunications.
Welcome to the show where we tackle the tough questions submitted by installers, project managers, estimators, and customers, and anybody and everybody who has a question about the ICT industry. We are connecting at the human level so we can connect the world. If you're watching this show on YouTube, would you mind hitting the subscribe button and the bell button to be notified when new shows come out? If you're listening to us on a podcast platform like Stitcher or Google, would you mind giving us a 5-star rating? Those little steps helps us take on that algorithm so more people can hear this message, so we can educate, encourage, and enrich the lives of everybody in this industry. Every Thursday night, 6 p.m., we also do a live stream where you get to ask your favorite RCDD the questions you've always been wanting to know. That would be me. I can hear you now, though. But Chuck, I can't do it Thursday nights at 6 because I'm driving home in traffic. Not a problem. They're recorded and they're put on our webpage. Go to letstalkcabling.com. You can follow all of the recorded content. They're the live streams and the videos. They're all there for your consumption. So now let's get on with the show. So AEM came away with not one, but 3 awards at this last Pixie conference, which I think is kind of cool. It's kind of cool. So we had to bring on one of the best people to help describe their successes, and that's Lisa Schwartz. Lisa, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hi, Chuck. I'm great. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for fitting me in your very, very busy schedule. I've noticed on your LinkedIn profile, you've been a busy person.
Yes.
Yes,
No rest for the weary, I think is the statement for that.
I hear you. So let me just start off with a back question, right? Because you guys won the platinum, the bronze, and the silver awards for your testers this year, right?
Platinum, gold, and silver.
Platinum, gold, and silver. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the secret sauce at AEM that makes them such an award-winning platform?
That is a great question. I think where it comes from is when you look at the breadth of knowledge and the years of industry experience with the teams behind the scenes. You see Steve and I all the time, but our engineering and development team, these guys have been developing solutions in test and measurement since, I'm going to date them, they're not going to like this, since the 80s. And they've been working together at multiple different test and measurement companies. They also participate on the standards committees and have spent a lot of time in the field with customers. So, when I think about just the breadth of experience our developers have, and then, those of us who get to be customer facing and out in the field every day, we've also been in this industry for decades. And so I think when we kind of combine the talents of our developers and the breadth of knowledge from those of us who are customer facing, we bring all that together we have something called an innovation lab. And we bring all that together across all of these teams, not only in our test and measurement group, but, AEM is a very large test and measurement company, actually. We provide test solutions across a lot of different kinds of technologies. And so when we also bring folks together in our technology lab from some of our other industries, they really brainstorm, and it really helps us come up with some pretty interesting and unique ideas. So I think that's kind of where that spurs from.
Yeah, I noticed on your LinkedIn profile that you were at an automotive testing kind of like Bixie kind of event, if I remember right.
Yeah, last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were at Automotive Testing Expo last week, and we also make solutions for the automotive industry. There's actually quite a bit of kind of a little Ethernet network in some of our cars is kind of the easiest way to look at it. It's got single pair Ethernet in it, which we've been testing for several years in automotive wiring harnesses, coaxial cable. Obviously, very different types of connection technologies and standards we follow, but that is another branch that our test and measurement group supports.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. They just think a car is a car, but there's a lot of networks, Internet of Things, and all kinds of
Yeah.
devices that are all Ethernet driven. And I've told people a lot of times, single pair Ethernet is coming on strong.
Especially these days, it is just amazing all of the tech that's in our cars. I don't know if you've had this experience, Chuck, but I know I have had this experience. I pull up to a stoplight and I see uh, Chuck's Escalade Wi-Fi. It's the car sitting in front of me, and I can see their Wi-Fi network in their car. Uh, and then
Oh yeah.
self-driving cars. So there's a lot of cable that needs to be tested to make sure that
Oh,
stuff's all.
absolutely. I rented a car one time. I was doing a trip to West Virginia to teach a class. I rented a car, and per my corporate guidelines, is I got to rent a mid-sized car. I can't go extravagant. I wouldn't do it anyway, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't. It's just, so when I got there, because the airport in West Virginia is a kind of a small airport, they were low on cars. They gave me a BMW, and so
Nice.
so I went back and I said, "Look, I appreciate this." I said, "But my company is gonna really be mad if I turn in an expense report with a BMW on it." And they're
Right.
like, "Oh, no, no, it's the same price. We didn't have any other vehicle to give you." It's like, okay, so no problem. So I'll go back out there. It took me probably 10 minutes to figure out how to get in the car and start the car, right? So I'm driving through one of the rural highways in West Virginia, and I got the cruise set, and I'm driving. It was after a class. So I'm kind of halfway tired anyway, and the car's going. All of a sudden, the car starts slowing down. I'm like, what the heck? I thought something was breaking on my car. The car had sensed that, number one, I was in a construction zone, and it slowed
What?
me down to the speed limit of the construction zone.
Wow.
It doesn't
We
do that
all
by itself. That's all that, it's the GPS system somehow networking with the speed control on the car and stuff like that. So there's, that's interesting. It's really, really interesting. I tell people all the time, right now, I wish I was just starting off in communications instead of just ending communications, because all this new exciting stuff coming down the pike is just absolutely cool. So let me ask you this: how do you said you have a couple people who sit on the standards.
Mhm.
What other methods do you do to stay current with the standards? I mean, obviously, if you're help writing the standards, you can be current with them, right? When you come
Yeah.
back, how do you implement those into the testers?
Yeah, that's a big one. Well, because we're participating on the standards, obviously we're a bit privy to where the standard is heading and where things are going. And, two interesting examples back when the 802.3 BT standard was being created for the higher wattage, the 90-watt PoE. We were participating on that committee, and we actually had the draft standard already built into our test equipment. So when the engineers see, what the requirements are going to be and the measurement algorithms, in order to make those measurements, they bring that back to our development team. And, I shouldn't say they get to work on it, making it sound like they start, because they never end.
Right.
They're they're constantly innovating. And even right now, if you look at our Test Pro, you can pull up the draft standard of the single pair Ethernet standard that is forthcoming.
Yep.
That's already built into the tester, and we've already got an adapter ready. So, it's really beneficial to us to keep up to date there. And then I also participate on the Ethernet Alliance. I also participate on the TIA Single Pair Ethernet Consortium, the Smart Building Group, the Fiber Optic Consortium, and then we also participate in a European Single Pair Ethernet Consortium. So we are very busy with various industry technology groups, as well as the standards.
how do you have any spare time left over to do your day job?
I
tell your
know.
tell your boss I think you deserve a raise. You can tell him I said that.
Okay,
Uh,
I'll send him this recording.
There you go. I'm a big fan of the Toyota way, and one of the things they talk about there is the continual strive for improvement. It's a never ending process. I'm glad you said that. You didn't attribute back to the Toyota way, but that's what's the difference between a company who is making a huge change in the industry and other ones who are following the pack. And I think you guys are definitely leading the pack in this industry. You really are.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, across all of AEM, not just this test and measurement division that I'm in, but driving innovation is a core tenet of AEM. And it's why we have this innovation lab, and we bring all of our developers together from across all of our different technologies. It's those kinds of things that allow us to be so innovative, I think.
So you're obviously selling testers to contractors. I've
Mhm.
been a contractor and I've worked with contractors for the last 10 years, and they are a very wide variety of people, right?
Yes.
And that's putting it nicely. Um, how do you guys stay plugged into the contractors and their needs and wants and desires?
Yeah, good question. There's two kind of groups there. So there's the contractors, and we meet their needs with primarily our test pro. And then our network service assistant is really kind of targeted at your frontline network technicians, network administrators. And then both products kind of address those users who are system integrators. This kind of depends on what their need is. So there's really a very wide variety of types of users that we speak to. I have been in this industry for about 30 years, working at several different test equipment manufacturing companies. And so have my colleagues. And I think having the longevity, I'm going to say, and experience working in the industry, we all know a lot of folks.
Mm-hmm.
And we call upon them, we talk to them about some of our ideas, we get their feedback. And those are the things that we then take into engineering, and we think about our own ideas. We see where standards are heading. And that's how we kind of come up with these unique, some of the different things that we do. The other thing is that I also work on developing written personas. So I think about the person I'm trying to talk to, and I kind of have this template I follow, and I sit and think about every aspect of this individual. And I share those personas with the rest of our group. And those all help to get us all on the same page as to who is this person we're speaking to, because it's
Mm-hmm.
important we speak their language.
Right.
And it's a different language between if I'm speaking to a contractor versus a frontline network technician. They have
Absolutely.
different needs. And then the other thing I'd say is some of our selling partners, we've got manufacturer reps and we've got distribution partners. And a lot of these folks that we're working with as our partners is really how we think of them. We also take in a lot of feedback from our selling partners. And these folks, there's a couple of our selling partners that I have been working with since 1992 at different companies. So they are also well versed with these customers we speak to. So we also take in feedback from our selling partners.
Yeah, people don't realize just how small our industry really is.
I know.
I mean, it's just, I mean, yeah, it's funny. I was looking at you. So you're Steve Cowles. You mentioned his name.
Yep.
He's one of your guys who runs
Yep.
the customer service stuff. And I didn't realize I was looking his profile the other day for something. I can't remember what I was looking for, and I noticed that he used to work for a company called Capital Radio. Okay, I used to buy from Capital Radio when I just got in this industry. That
Do you
just
ever
shows you how
know?
small this industry really
I
is,
know, right? And
right?
do you notice when he's on camera behind him, his he's also a ham radio
Yes,
operator,
yes.
and his ham radio behind him? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on my ham radio license, so I don't have mine yet, but at some point in time I'll have mine back. Cause I'm very competitive, so maybe I'll get mine in neon, so it flashes, so
Oh,
that
there
way
you
it's one
go.
step above Steve's.
I can already see the one-upping. I can
Oh yeah,
already see it happening.
oh yeah, and that's how you can tell when two technicians like each other. They're always harassing each other.
Yeah.
So let's dive into each of those three components. So the first one I'll talk about is the CV100, right? So the
Yeah.
CV100, it tests copper and single mode and multi mode and does tier one testing and stuff. And one of my favorite features, the CV100, as soon as you plug the cable in, it automatically gives you whether or not the wire map fails or not.
Yeah, our
I
live wire
love
map.
that feature
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it used to be you'd have to hit the auto test, and then if it didn't get past that first step, you have to go back and fix it. I
Little
love
bit
that
of
auto
noise.
test thing.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the K60 and the K61?
Well, first of all, I want to highlight on that live wire map. We actually do that for both twisted pair and fiber optic. I don't know if you've had a chance to plug it
I
into
had
fiber yet,
not.
but that occurs on both media types. So keep a note on that. For the Test Pro CV100 K60 and K61, those are our two smart building test kits. And the big difference there, whenever you see a 1 in our naming nomenclature, it indicates that fiber optic is included. And whenever we include fiber optic, we always include both single mode and multi-mode. So our smart building test kits give you all of the testing adapters that you need for certification. And it's going to certify Cat 3 actually up to Cat 6A with the test adapters that are included in the kit. Of course, we've got test adapters to take you up to 8.2. It's also going to provide you with what's called the net cable adapter, and that lets you do the multi-gigabit link speed testing. And what that's doing is it's doing signal to noise ratio or SNR measurements
Mm-hmm.
while under traffic load. And if there's a PSE present, we also request power from the PSE. So we're putting a load on the wire. So you've got traffic and POE load on the wire. And then we do a measurement at 2.5, 5, and 10 gig. So we let you know, is your signal strong enough to get through the noise on the wire, even under power load?
Mm-hmm.
And then it also has the ability to do POE load testing. And we do load testing up to 90 watts. All of those adapters are included in the K60 and the K61. The K61 is going to add the single mode and the multi-mode tier 1 fiber optic test adapters. So it's going to do your certification for fiber optic. And those adapters also happen to have integrated into them a visual fault locator. So not that that's, amazing new technology.
Right,
But
but that's one less piece of equipment that a technician's got to carry.
exactly, it's one less piece, and it's literally right next to your, your connectors for
Mm-hmm.
fiber optic. Just switch over if you think you have a problem. And then also built into it is the ability to test hybrid powered fiber. So there is a jack there that lets you clamp onto the DC copper wires there to test electrical resistance and voltage. So you're getting all three of those in the same test head for both single mode and multi-mode.
Yeah, I think now that you mentioned the VFL thing, I think that's my second favorite feature because this has never happened to me, of course. But do you know how many
Never,
times I've gone to get my VFL and the batteries were dead or corroded, and then I was without a VFL? I can imagine that happening. I really can. But it never happened to me though, ever,
never, ever,
ever, ever, ever,
ever.
ever.
I'm sure of it.
Yes, yes. And I like the ability. So I'm working on a show called Cable Mythbusters. So we're busting some myths about cable and
Nice.
stuff. So I'm bringing Steve in to help me look at those because he's the qualified expert on looking at test results. So I'm doing, like, for example, one of them is 568A versus 568B, right? So I've got like about 10, 15 test results. And I was like, I got to get these to Steve. Now I'm used to having to like download the tester, and then send an email with an attachment stuff. you guys have the cloud. You just send right straight to the cloud, and then I just here's the email address to send it to, and then it even asked me, "Do you want to be copied on this?" I love that feature. I
Yeah,
love
thank
that
you.
feature.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We've got a Test Data Pro Cloud, like you mentioned, so it lets people upload while they're actively testing. And then we also have, and that's called Test Data Pro Cloud. And then we also have Test Data Pro, which is our PC-based network management software. And what's really cool is that, you can use the cloud to kind of upload as you're going. And I kind of think of it as a repository to store those results. And you can do some things with your results in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's a deeper set of things that you want to do with those results, like you want to get a single summary report, or you want to dive into them because there's something odd in the report, you want to look at it, those can just port right over to our full-blown results management software. So
Yep.
there's
So
quite a bit of flexibility there.
here's some input for when you guys are looking for continuous improvement.
Yes.
A lot of technicians have big old fat fingers.
Yes.
So I found it kind of hard typing on the little keyboard thing. Now Steve did tell me about the little stylus on the back. He did tell me about that after I mentioned it to him. But I can tell you right now, I'm dating myself. I used to have a Palm Pilot. Yeah.
I used to have one too.
Yeah. So, and they came with little styluses. I
Yes.
ended up quit using my Palm Pilot because I lost my stylus.
Yes.
So, maybe I don't know if that's something that is valuable or not, but just I gotta imagine I'm not the only technician out there with big old clubs for fingers.
Yes. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So there are actually 3 different keyboards that you can pull up.
He
So
didn't tell me this.
so you need to get on him. So when you talk to him, yeah, so there's 3 different keyboards you can choose from depending on the size of keys you like, if you want numbers with the letters or you want them separate to make the keys bigger. So you can do that. But the other really cool thing you can do, I assume you're talking about when you're typing in your labeling, your naming schema.
Yep.
Better yet, do it in Excel. So you can pre-configure all of your labeling in Excel. You can then import that Excel file not only into the tester, and whether that's Test Pro or the Network Service Assistant, either one supports it, but you can also take that exact same Excel file and email it to yourself and open it with iLink and Label from the Brother mobile printer solution. And that exact same file imports into your mobile printer. So there's no possible chance that you might fat finger a label, whether you're putting it in the tester or you're putting it in your label maker, because the Excel file goes into both.
Yeah, I saw the live stream that you guys did with Todd, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together with the keyboard thing, but that's a cool. I'm gonna harass Steve now. I'm gonna tell him he's holding back information on me. I'm gonna harass him now.
He's gonna watch this and say, "Oh, I am in trouble."
Yep. So the CV100 took the platinum. So was that the top level award for that tier for that?
It was, yeah. And that was our smart building kits. And we are very, very focused on the unique needs that smart buildings represent. I think one of the biggest, I guess I'm going to maybe even call it a frustration that I hear in the voices of the contractors we talk to, is that networks have changed. Networks have evolved, and there is more required from the test equipment that they use and rely on. And when we developed Test Pro and we developed, it's why we call it a multi-function certifier, is because it's not just a cable certifier. That device can not only certify copper fiber, but it also does all of that SNR testing, the PoE load testing, and it can even do wired and Wi-Fi network analysis.
Right, I was gonna say it can ping addresses and stuff too.
It can do, it can. It can get switch detail. It can look at Wi-Fi signal strength. Now our network service assistant does that as well, and maybe we can talk about the differences there, but that product and the reason why it is awarded, and it has received awards since its inception year after year, by the way. I'll just throw that
Nice.
plug in there. But it is because it is addressing the unique needs of today's modern network infrastructure.
Absolutely. That's cool. And just, when I was tinkering around with my CV100, and I think it was when I can't remember if it was when I was uploading the test results or if I was just playing with the functionalities of it. And I somehow stumbled across where it pulls up all the SSIDs and stuff. And I was like, what are all these devices on my home network? I had to actually sit down and think, okay, well, no, that's my wife's computer. That's my wife's laptop. That's my computer. I didn't
It's
realize I had so many
amazing.
things connected to my
I
network.
know, it's amazing. I've done that too. And I think Steve told me he has something like 30 some odd devices that he discovered. Now it does require for the Wi-Fi a little Etamax MU-MIMO dual band Wi-Fi adapter that you get and plug into the side to give you Wi-Fi access. But yeah, it is amazing when you pull it up how many things are actually on your home network.
Right.
And these days, it's like almost like our business networks, except, there's thermostats and lights and doorbells.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing these
We are
days.
truly living in a connected world, and
We are.
that presents a lot of opportunities for contractors, installers, because there's more stuff that you get to run cable for and stuff, but that also brings additional challenges because you got to know those technologies, you got to be able to test those technologies, and having equipment like the CV100 and network analyzer, I could see that making that job so much easier. I really can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, one of the things, Chuck, that cable contractors that we speak to are discovering, and it's been in our messaging for a bit, but it's a different way of thinking. So it's kind of hard to get it across. But it is challenging, but it actually brings new revenue opportunities to cable contractors, system integrators alike. Because with our test equipment, because you can test beyond the certification, think about adding a new line of service.
Yes.
Right? So, okay, Mr. Customer, here is your certification report. Once you get all the devices installed, we will come back and do phase 2. Phase 2 is validating link speed and PoE at each of the ports. We provide printed reports for that. And this is our fee for that.
Yeah, the more things you know how to do, the better off you are as a company. So
Yeah.
one of your newer products that you just came out with, and it took the gold, I think, was the network service administrator or assistant, network
Network
service
service
administrator.
assistant. Yep.
One of the things, because I haven't had a chance to play with one yet,
Yep.
what is qualification plus testing?
Good question. So, again, we took a look at some of the frustrations that, in this case, the network administrators facing and frontline support staff are facing. And from my past history at some of the previous companies that I have worked for, I, along with our team, were able to kind of realize that, with these users, occasionally they need to be able to validate that cable to be able to get a pass or fail. Does this cable pass Cat 6A? Does it pass Cat 6, Cat 5E, whatever it is their need is? And that would require this kind of user to purchase a cable certifier. Cable certifiers can be costly, and for something that you only use a few times a year, it's a bit frustrating to think, well, I have to buy that piece of test equipment, and then I need another piece of test equipment to do my network connectivity testing. As I do adds, moves, and changes, what switch am I plugged into? What slot? What port? What VLAN? What devices are on my network? And then there's Wi-Fi. What SSIDs are out there? What channels are they on? Where are my dead zones? I'm looking at right there 3 different pieces of test equipment. And so we wanted to look at how we could develop a hybrid test solution to bridge this gap. And the reason we call the network service assistant a hybrid solution that is providing qualification plus is because it provides a capability, first of all, that we call CertiLite. CertiLite is using the ANSI 1152A single-ended or unidirectional test standard for qualifying that cable. It is actually all of the same measurements that are required for the traditional bidirectional certification, but we're doing it from a single end with a small passive terminator. And that significantly cuts down on the cost of the tester because you don't have a full-blown tester at each end. And then it also has those other capabilities I mentioned for wired and wireless network connectivity tester. So qualification plus is bridging that divide or bridging that gap between a simple qualifier and a certifier. It sits in the middle.
Gotcha. One of the things I noticed, it said that the things that a tester does is the ability to reduce costs by not having two full RF measurement engines. And that's what you were just talking about, right?
Right. And
Okay.
so in our Test Pro CV100, it's got two testers at each end, because when you're doing warranty approved certification, that's warranty approved by the cable manufacturers, you must make those measurements from each end of the cable. Those are the RF measurements. And a unique thing about our test platforms is that we don't sell that as a main and a remote. They are both test platforms that can become different things. The day I'm certifying, I'm going to tell one to be a main, and I'm going to tell one to be a remote, and I'm going to certify. But on another day, I might want to do PoE testing.
Right.
I might want to do network testing. I'm testing into a switch. That unit that is my remote, I can turn it into a main, and I can independently deploy both testers. I now have two testers.
Right.
In the case of Network Service Assistant, I just have a small little passive terminator that I'm using as the remote end, if you will, when I'm doing that single-ended measurement. That's not a cable manufacturer warranty approved measurement. So that's only going to be used by somebody who's just looking at, is my network capable of running to the standard because I've done adds, moves, and changes, something like that. But somebody who must follow warranty approvals would use our Test Pro.
Gotcha. Two of the biggest complaints that I hear from contractors: cost of equipment for testing, and some of the manufacturers, and I'm not going to call your name because I want to be maintained positively.
Yeah.
Not doing. They won't update your older platforms anymore because they want you to buy the newer platforms.
Okay.
I'm not going to mention your names because everybody has their own business models, and it's fine, Danny. But from a contractor's perspective, that leaves a bad taste in their mouth if they buy a tester, then all of a sudden they can't, because we're not talking no small chunk of change here. For my validator, I think I spent $20. And you guys are I think are aggressively priced, and you guys are nowhere near $20 for your testers. Nowhere near $20.
They're a little more than that.
just a wee bit, but it is a lot more than my old validator does, though. I mean, so you'd expect that. With functionality comes cost, and cost comes price. So, and you guys are doing a really good job in helping alleviate both those pressure points for contractors. I really think that's helping a lot. So the third one was your mixed mode multi-port network analyzer,
or MMVNA. That's a lot easier to say.
MMVNA,
mixed mode multi-port vector network analyzer. Say that 10 times fast.
Oh, that sounds like an acronym for my acronym challenge there, buddy.
Oh, yes.
Nobody will get it. So tell me a little bit about that piece of equipment, because all I know about that is just what I read on the website.
Yeah. So we did get a silver award for that product, and that product is primarily going to be used by your cable manufacturers, whether it is a cable manufacturer in network infrastructure, like this typical business we are talking about now, or the wiring harness manufacturers for automotive. So this is where we're doing some very in-depth S parameter RF measurement analysis on cabling and connectors. or another term that is used in that realm is DUTs, devices under test. So that product is used more in laboratory and manufacturing environments. But it is interesting to note that that product would be comparable with something if you're familiar with like a big benchtop analyzer, a Keysight analyzer, if you remember the Agilent network analyzers. So it is on par accuracy wise with those types of testers. And by the way, we've done some very in-depth analysis on comparing the accuracy of measurements, and we are dead on with the big benchtop analyzer. That MNVNA and our portable test equipment share a common measurement engine and a brain, if you will.
Nice.
So our portable test equipment is actually on par from an accuracy perspective with a vector network analyzer. And that's a very important distinction to make.
So you set the bar high. You got a platinum and you got a silver and you got the gold. You know what that means? It means next year you got to get 3 platinums. You always strive for improvement.
Challenging ourselves, right? I know. Yes.
So before we close out, any last interesting things about going on AEM that you want to share with the audience?
I think one of the things I want to share is we just recently I actually just came off 2 weeks of travel check. One of them was the Automotive show. And the week before that, we were actually in Dubai working with Superior Essex, and we did a presentation for some of the markets there on smart buildings. And if you look at both of our websites, there's also a great article in the Smart Building Technology magazine, Cabling Installation and Maintenance magazine. But we both have a very strong focus towards helping organizations navigate these smart buildings. And as they are looking at technology solutions, specifically in their PowerWise cable, very specifically designed for carrying power over Ethernet, and for us being able to test much more broadly across that infrastructure, that's an interesting story to read. So I would encourage everyone to check out those various resources and check that out.
And that's on your webpage?
It's under our press announcement section. It's also in the publications, and it's also on Superior Essex's.
What's your web address?
Right. It is AEM-test.com.
There you go. I'll put a link in the description below for my YouTube people. So congratulations on your 3 awards. And I hope you guys keep leading this industry and coming out with new innovative products.
Thank you so much, Chuck. Thanks for having me on the show today.
My pleasure. Until next time, everybody, knowledge is power.
That's it for this episode of today's podcast. We hope you were able to learn something. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. Also, leave a rating so we can help even more people learn about telecommunications. Until next time, be safe.